Okay, so we're back, and in the last video we did all the basic functionality of this, but we have these buttons that I'm going to use as a light bar. So basically the color of the buttons is going to change from transparent to I think we'll start with a light green, and we are going to red over there. So we have 15 buttons, and we have a maximum value of 7000 RPM, I guess. So 7000 divided by 15. So every 500 RPM another button is going to light up. If that isn't enough, I could just make them half and use the double amount in the future, but I'm going to use that for right now. So I think we have to do that in the timer function as well. I usually write those reminders in when I'm thinking of how to do something, so it just gives me a visual indication of what the goal is. So first of all, we have to divide the 7000 RPM by the 15 buttons, and we can do that over here. So buttons on is the value how much buttons we have switched on, and this is simply the value, the RPM value, divided by the button step. So button step, we have done the math with almost 500. So if we have 3000 RPM and divide that by 500, we are going to have 6, and that means that we are going to light up 6 buttons. So for oh, I was right, it's 4. I mean 2 on. Yeah, like that. I sometimes get confused between the different programming languages. Also for buttons on, have I defined the thing? I guess I have. More buttons off, I think that's equal to buttons on to 15. So so this is the basic thing. Buttons on are all the buttons that are on. So in our example we have 6. So for buttons as integer equals 1, so for 1 to 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, the first 6 buttons we are going to light up in the respective colors. And for buttons off as integer equals buttons on plus 1, meaning 6 plus 1 is 7. So for buttons 7 to 15, we are going to set them as transparent color, so they are off. So we're doing this first. I'm not sure if I can do this now how I thought I would be able to do this. Is Visual Basic able to do something like that. Oh, nope. So we're back, and I googled a few minutes, and this is basically what I found. So we can store the name of the button to a string, and then we can access the button over me.controls the name dot backcolor. So we're also going to try if it works like that, and yes, it does. So you can just make it like that, and then and off. So this is basically work. This string and this integer hopefully get connected to a string right there, and the yeah, so buttons off in this case is buttons 1 plus 1, so we have 7 if we have 6 buttons on. So button 7, button progress, and 7 is button progress 7, and we change the back color to transparent. So as this is a for loop, we are going to do this until the max 15. So in case every button is on, button on is 15, button off is 15, I'm pretty sure the for loop won't run any buttons at all. But yeah, this is how we do it. There would also be another way of switching off all buttons first and then turning on only the ones that are on. But with those two for loops like that, it's resource friendlier because we don't have to switch all buttons off and on again. So we have to do the exact same thing right there. Just also I'm going to make this like that because I don't like to name variables with capital letters at the beginning. So right here we use color align green for now, and now we have to think of a way to change the color according to a so the only colors we can access are the web colors right here. So let's start with the greens. So if you start with the light green, then the forest green, then the lime green, that doesn't make any sense. Would be very nice if you could use the custom colors, but I don't think that that's possible. Color dot nope. Oh, I can. Oh, that's cool. So I think 4 values. 4. No. So I'm going to look for a few nice color codes, and I'm back in a minute. I need to show you this because it's really awesome. Just for this tool, here you can enter the hex value of 2 colors, and it basically gives you a nice gradient from one color to the other. So I really do like this one. This one is the easiest one, but I don't like those dark brownish colors, so I really do like this one. So these are 13 colors. We have 15 buttons, so we just use a green more of the same color at the beginning and the red of the same color at the end, and I think it's just fine. So maybe we just use 2 red because I want to see a nice color gradient without going into the red line all the time. So as you can see, there are the RGB values, so I'm just going to copy all those RGB values, and now we have to well, now our nice little for loop doesn't make much sense anymore because we have to do each button color wait, we don't have to because we can use arrays. So okay, so we're back and we're having all the RGB codes now. So first of all, I put them each in a separate array and then each array in another array. There is probably a much more compact way of doing this, but as you might have noticed, I'm not exactly good at programming in Visual Basic, so this has to do for now. So we go down to our 4 loops, and we're just changing the color to colors. Well, okay. Dim color. Equals colors. Well, okay. Let's try this. Color 1. Color 2. Huh? I think that will work. Okay, so now we also have our colors, and all the buttons that aren't used are going to be transparent. So all now we have to do is the red line button, and I have actually honestly no idea where the red line actually is on this car. I thought it was at 7000 RPM, but I'm not so sure anymore. So we're just going to make the red line button on at 6500 RPM. So if value 1 red line color equals, and now we look for a nice color, maybe a really dark red, like this. No, that's too... I don't want to use a color that is in there, so... No, that's not, of course. So let's just try dark red, and yeah, let's roll with it for now. So color.dark red. So we also have our red line button. So we're pretty much done, I think. So I'm going to run this program on the PC. I'm going to add a function to my Arduino code to send a dummy value, and we're going to see if it works. Okay, so we have a little update. Right here I made a mistake. I, as you can remember, maybe used if not is acknowledged then at the beginning, and then I changed it to if is acknowledged then else, but I wrote all this part in else, and it's acknowledged right there, so that has to be changed around, and now the whole thing doesn't work, and the reason for that is this here, and as you can see I already tried a little bit. Originally we had this like this, but the problem is that the controls, whatever the thing is, array table, I don't know, gets accessed by a index and not by a string. So this would work, but how do I find out the index value of each button in the controls menu? So that I'm currently trying to figure out how I'm supposed to change that. Also the problem is I want this whole thing to be not too not too much of code, so it will run fairly quickly. But if I'm going to have whatever long for loops just to figure the buttons out, that is kind of stupid. So alright, so I think I've got this figured out now. So it's actually pretty simple, but it's an other loop, so for each control object as control in controls. So we are going through all the controls and we're defining the object as a control. So if type of control object is button, so if the control we are currently at is a button, the control object name and everything else we can now access via control object dot. So if control object name equals button progress and two string buttons, so the number button progress 1, button progress 2, etc. So then control object backcolor equals, and we are adding the color. So yeah, basically pretty easy, and we do the same for the buttons that are switched off. So this works, but we have another problem, and that problem is, oh wait, I just found something. We have to make this one transparent as well. If just like that. If the words, if the red line isn't reached. So the problem is that I am having a array out of range exception, meaning that somehow I messed the arrays up. In Visual Basic, the arrays are counted from 0, so a array with 15 entries has can be accessed by 0 to 14, and I'm pretty sure I messed up somehow right here. Yeah, I think right here. Buttons -1, since we start here with a buttons as integer equals 1, but we have to use start with 0, so we have to subtract the 1 here when we access the array. So I think that's the only time we access the array. Yes, so this should work. Doesn't look too bad now, does it? And as you can see, the average RPM is fluctuating very much at the moment, but the more RPM values we add to the table, the less it's going to fluctuate, meaning the longer the program runs, the more steady the value is going to be. So that is just because we have a new average RPM every time we start the program. I might implement a saving text file so I can save the average RPM and stuff like that, so when I start the program the next time, the average will just continue until I hit a reset button or something like that. But other than that, it doesn't look too bad right now. I think I quite like the RPM progress bar. As I said, I didn't want the RPM in the first place, but I think it's quite nice to have the RPM on the display. And I'm just going to roll with this for now. I have to wait until I get the other sensors in, mainly the temperature sensors, and I have a accelerometer, but those are all shipped from China, and this usually takes 2 months, so I'm going to drive around with only the RPM display for a while, as it seems, but not too bad, not too bad. I might change the font again, because I don't like how the edges are so pixelated, but other than that, it's actually, well, we're going to end the video. Whoops, shouldn't have clicked on that. We are going to end the video right here, I guess. So this is the Visual Basic part of the whole thing. This is our design, and if you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comment section. And the next video is going to be this whole thing assembled in the car and probably a test drive maybe. Yeah. So thank you very much for watching and have a wonderful day.